Hey friends and everyone else. As you can see with the title of this video, it's labeled my thoughts on the far left in the media. And I think this is important to discuss because we're in a state right now where people are offended by legitimately everything. They're offended by the news, they're offended by things on campus, they're offended by quite literally everything. I apologize about the freezing and whatnot. I can't really do anything about that. Kind of give you an idea of my setup right now. Here you are. I'm using NewTek NDI to capture this, and it just doesn't want to output directly to OBS right now. So anyways, doesn't matter. But I just want to touch on that, so if you're wondering. Okay, so my thoughts, very simply put, on the far left is this. There is a lot of rampant sexism going on towards males. There's a lot of dislike about people. There's a lot of issues with white people especially. And 4chan decided to say, a shirt that said, "It's okay to be white." That's all it said. And people on the left got so offended by it. Now, the reason I'm discussing this is because I was very close to becoming, not a social justice warrior, because I would never become an SJW, but I was dating women who were liberal. And I read a post recently that talked about how you can't, as a male, you can't date a liberal woman because they're too insane. And as we've seen with the Kavanaugh trial and everything like that, there's clearly a lot of shit going on behind the scenes. These glasses, they don't make you smart. A lot of people assume intelligence from other people when they see someone with glasses. And I'll talk about Kavanaugh and Ford in a couple minutes here, but I wanted to discuss this specifically. I saw this, and I was watching this clip over and over again because I have respect for Trump standing up to the media on this and standing his ground on things. Now people are going to call me a racist, a misogynist, Islamophobic, whatever. Doesn't matter, call you what you want, I don't give a shit. But I want to talk about this for a second because I think this is very important. So listen for a minute, okay?
Okay, question? Yeah, go ahead. Sure. She's shocked that I picked her.
So he's affirming that she's shocked. Now, whether or not she is, that's not what I want to talk about. Listen to this for a second.
Like in a state of shock.
This is what everyone's twisting words on. So here it is.
I'm not thinking.
That's okay, I know you're not thinking.
All right, listen to that again. I know you're not... I froze. That's a great thumbnail. I know you're not, as people are assuming, thinking. Listen again. Listen to the now you could say what you want. People do that all the time when with videos and stuff. It's like the Mandela effect. But just listen to it.
I know you're not thinking. Go ahead. Sure. She's shocked that I picked her. Like in a state of shock.
I'm not thinking.
That's a...
She says, "I'm not thanking."
She's shocked that I picked her. Like in a state of shock.
I'm not thinking.
I'm not, thank you, Mr. President. It kind of slurred her words. It kind of became a jumbled mess.
That's okay, I know you're not thinking. You're not...
Now, you can clearly hear the AN there.
Like in a state of shock.
I'm not thinking.
That's okay, I know you're not thinking. You're not...
Anyway, she said thanking. I guess what I'm trying to say is she said that I'm not, she said I'm not thanking. He says, I know you're not thanking. You never thank. My point of this is, right, just by one, now they both need to enunciate better. They're both professionals. They should be doing that. Enunciation.
Never do.
I'm sorry?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Now, the media, the left-wing media, could spin it to say, I know you're not thinking, as they have done, to say that he's belittling her. Now, there's something you learn about in politics, there's something you learn about in journalism, and that is back and forth banter. Now, was it professional what he did? No. He should have handled a little bit better, and the way she handles it was okay, but let's keep watching. Clearly, we're not going to see that, so we're going to go to the next part. We're going to go back a scene here, a thing. And this is what I want to talk about, like the way...
FBI investigation.
What does that have to do with... I don't mind answering.
In a tweet this weekend, Mr. President, you said that I'm not thinking.
So this is a media scrum, basically. She's forwarding her questions on what he's... and it's an interview and press conference.
Okay, I know you're not thinking. You never do.
So now, again, the way he put it is, I know you're not thinking, you never do. What he was saying was, I know you're not thinking, you never do, because he's saying that the people on the far left, the ABCs and the CNNs, are not thankful for what they have. And again, I'm looking too much into this, and people could say, oh, you're crazy for that. But I just want to talk about that for a minute, and this is super important.
I'm sorry?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
In a tweet this weekend, Mr. President, you said that it's incorrect to say you're limiting the scope of the FBI investigation.
What does that have to do with Fred? I don't mind answering.
So his whole thing is, okay, so let's just look at this for a second. All right, so this woman, this reporter came to him with a question, a very loaded question, relevant to what they're discussing now. Apologies about my webcam here. I don't know what's going on with that. It's a very loaded question, to say the least. It doesn't matter. I guess you can just listen to my voice. It's a very loaded question, to say the least. And what she was saying was that, what are you going to do? What are you saying about the allegations towards Mr. Kavanaugh and the FBI and all that stuff? And he's trying, his whole entire press conference was all about the trade agreement and how he's trying to kill off NAFTA and all that stuff. My point is, she came in there with an agenda. He came in there to deflect her agenda, and now we have the media saying that he's a misogynistic, belittling human being, which may or may not be true. Doesn't matter.
The question, but I'd like to do the trade
It has to do with the
question.
other headline in the news, which is.
I know, but how about talking about trade, and then we'll get to that. We'll do that a little bit.
Do you think that?
So he's not outright saying that he's not going to answer a question. He's not outright saying, oh, I'm a fascist, I'm not going to answer a question, this is my way, I'm going to dictate it. He's outright saying, I just want to address this issue right now. I'll come to this other thing because it's a massive media wildfire, and it's a shitstorm and a media circus, if you will.
Anybody have a trade?
Do
Go
you think
ahead,
your trade
please.
deal will pass through Congress, sir?
I think so, but
So do you think your trade deal will pass through Congress?
if it doesn't, we have lots of other alternatives. But I do think so. I think if they're fair, which is a big question, but if it's fair on both sides, the Republicans love it, industry loves it, our country loves it. If it's fair, it will pass. I think it'll pass easily, really easily, because it's a great deal. I mean, NAFTA passed, it's one of the worst deals I've ever seen. Inconceivable that it was made. Fair question. Any other questions on trade? I'll get back to you on the other questions.
I'd like to go forward with my Kavanaugh question.
Let's do that later, and I'll call you a second time. Go.
Okay, so people could say, "Oh, he's being rude. He's belittling her. He's just being a dick or whatever." You could say that. You could say that that's what he's doing. And the reason why I wanted to make this video, the reason I wanted to do this live stream, was very simply put, because I feel like people that the far left oftentimes spins media. Now, the reason I bring this up, it's very, very important to me. Okay, the reason I bring this up is, I'm on my girlfriend's computer, by the way. I'm not a complete narcissist. I don't just have my computer set to like whatever. The reason I bring this up is because just one sec here, is simply because I was dating someone that was on the far left. Now, I didn't realize that. Sorry that I'm blocking out completely. I was dating someone that was on the far left, and closing the wallpaper there. And what I realized after dating that person is that they are not in agreement to free radical thought. They're in agreement to what is considered think tank pieces, stuff where you really don't have much of an option to have discerning thought. That was my biggest problem that I started to notice. And as I got older, as I've gotten older, I've realized that there's a lot of crazy women out there. There's a lot of crazy women who are keen on destroying men's lives. You can clearly see that with the amount of feminists out there. One clip that comes to mind is the very cringy, but cringy feminist poem. There's a woman that's like, I am out to destroy your... See if I can find it here. Where was it? I am the feminist. Here it is. I am the feminist. This is important because there's women out there that are like this. Is it I am a slut? I don't know. The point is, it was in a cringe compilation, and she's like, I am the feminist. Here it is out to destroy. No, I don't want to hear you. Thank you. And Leafy, I'm tired of your channel. His channel is dead, but anyways. This woman here, I don't know her name. Doesn't really matter. It's not important, because at the end of the day, a lot of these people's names don't really matter, because it's what they're saying, because they all kind of just blend together at the same time and kind of become a melting pot, or an enmeshed melting pot of social justice warrior nonsense. So let's talk about that for a second. What I noticed while dating women on the far left, or on the left, I should say, is that they were open to free-spirited liberalism, so in the sense of sex and being cautious, but birth control was a big one. They were open to... They disliked Donald Trump. And for a while there, I disliked him, but that's because I was listening to what other people were saying and not formulating my own opinions. So shame on me for that. The thing on the left is they believe that the wage gap is real. It's not. It's a myth. They believe... Now, I could be talking about feminism. You could say they go hand in hand, but frankly, they do go hand in hand because they're both bad. Extremism from both sides is bad for everyone. I just got a message from Crystal. It's bad from everyone. It's bad for everyone, right? You have the Trump haters and the Trump supporters, and the people who are Trump haters on the extreme left are crazy. The people that are the Trump lovers on the extreme right are also kind of crazy. You have websites and publications like the Daily Stormer that are saying that Donald Trump is the alt-right basically are a neo-Nazi white pride movement, when that is not true at all. Richard Spencer, people bring up as the alt-right candidate, and the spokesperson of the alt-right. He might be a white supremacist. But with that said, not everyone on the far right is, and not everyone on the right is. The Rebel Media, Gavin McInnes, I believe his name was, he did a video that talked about the 14 subgroups of the right. And what he discussed was there are different versions, like Milo Yiannopoulos, he is on the right, but he is more of a media type of right. He's more of a neo-right and everything. A lot of these people went from being liberal to being conservative. And as I've noticed, as I've gotten in the past 8 months of dating my girlfriend, going on 8 months here soon, I've noticed that I've become a lot happier as a person getting away from the left-wing politics and getting away from left-wing groupthink. I wanted to bring this up because I feel like a lot of the communities I was involved in, a lot of the groups I was involved in, a lot of the things I was involved in from high school until college were all left-wing based. When I was in high school, I wanted to be a Marxist. Now, I didn't fully understand Marxism, and I didn't agree with socialism, but I agreed with Marxism for some stupid reason. And I look back, and that was a dumb time in my life. But what I learned from my mom is that people here in Edmonton, a lot of people who were at her school and in the 70s, yes, that's my mom's age, whatever, in the 70s, a lot of them, high school students here in Edmonton, have grown up to become professors and have grown up to become another social radicalists who are teaching people my age these very harmful and hurtful and toxic thoughts about why socialism is great and everything else. And after watching Steven Crowder and Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro and stop watching the Young Turks, watching more of the Rebel, but also looking at other news outlets and stuff, I've started to see that people are that the left is insane. I've started to see that. I've started to formulate my own opinion. Now, I took Jordan Peterson's personality test, and I found out that I'm low in conscientiousness, high in openness. There's a couple other things there too, and it kind of explains my personality. With that said, I learned recently that my grandmother was a liberal. I learned that she was a feminist, and I learned that she was a free rights advocate. What I learned is that my liberalism was more of a learned thing through life. Because my mom was. Because my bio father was. Or is, I should say. My family were oftentimes very liberal. My cousins and stuff, they're all liberal. But as I've gotten older, as my mom has gotten older, as other people have gotten older, as my uncle has gotten older, and this is what I want to talk about, they have become more conservative. And I want to go back to why, and I mentioned about free think and everything. So let's talk about, I brought up Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson has changed my life. His words, his advice have changed my life for the better. Why is that? Well, the first time I heard about Jordan Peterson was back in 2016 when he was being challenged and attacked by trans advocates. Okay, so he was being challenged by them, these special snowflakes, because that's what they are. They're special snowflakes who believe they deserve privilege and all these other things because they have decided to not even cut off their genitalia, but to just transition. And they're stuck in a consistent state of limbo and transition, and they don't change. They don't become male or female. They just stay whatever. Jordan Peterson his whole reasoning behind why he was not willing to use a person's pronouns, preferred pronouns, I put that in air quotes, is simply because he feels that if the government is mandating legislation on free speech, then you are getting just censorship and true fascism. That was his reasoning behind it, not because he didn't respect those people. So I brought this up to my last girlfriend, Kat. And I brought it up to her friend, Morgan. I brought it up to them, and I mentioned about Jordan Peterson, and they said that he's a transphobe, he's a misogynist, he's all of these things that he is not. And they would not discuss it with me. And when I brought it up further, they basically started attacking me based on it. They started making me go whatever. They just they weren't open to group discussion. Now Morgan, as I'm recalling now, had a septum piercing. She had glasses and she had blue hair. I'm just making this very clear. These type of people, the social justice warriors, who I didn't recognize as social justice warriors, because I know that saying that you don't really recognize, if you don't see an asshole, you're the asshole. Pretty much, if you don't recognize a social justice warrior, then you either are one or you're seen or you're surrounded by them and you just kind of become whatever. The only ones I was really seeing in the past was the ones who were outlandish on YouTube, more of the Americans and the Antifa and all that stuff. Those are the people, and the Black Lives Matter supporters, all that stuff, like the true protesters and those people. Those are the ones I saw as the crazy social justice warriors. But as you might recall, back in 2016, I had a run-in with creep catchers because of my brother, and I dealt with that. Now, what I realized is those people were SJWs. They just weren't SJWs who were fighting for feminism. They were SJWs under the guise of vigilantism for taking down pedophiles. Now, that's a noble cause. By all powers put to you. But what I noticed from that, which I noticed from a lot of other things, is they were very corrupt people. Their whole intentions were great, but the way they went about them was very toxic and just negative for society. They were a problem with the police. They were a problem with society at large. They were just causing a lot of problems, and now you really don't hear about them anymore. I want to make that very clear. I want to make a declaration very clear. I do not support pedophilia. I do not support rapists. I do not support any of that. I want to make that very clear while I make the stance. I do believe, however, people should have the right to live. And I said a statement on Facebook about how I think there's a guy who was released in my city who is a potentially repeat offender is a potential repeat rapist. And what I was saying was that people shouldn't put themselves in a place where they're going to cause harm to this guy and murder him, as a lot of people were saying, a lot of people who don't think were saying this, and that and I was saying you shouldn't put yourself in the shoe, and you shouldn't take someone else's life, even if they are a despicable human being, because you're just continuing the cycle of abuse and problems. That's what I was trying to say with that point, and that instead we should be helping this person to get, or not we, but government and the police and stuff should be helping this person to get rehabilitated, or if they're too far gone, put them in a place where they can't harm other people. That was my whole point with that statement. And it got twisted to say, oh, I support pedophilia, or that I support rapists, which I don't. I wanted to make that clear. All right, so anyways, going on that. And that's what I mean. The people on the left will take a lot of what you could take as innocuous or take as something helpful, will twist it to their agenda. Now, I'm not saying the person that said this did that, but I'm saying it does often happen. Okay, so going back to what I was saying. As I've noticed a lot of the time, that the extreme left, the ideologues, if you will, the vehemently insane left, I'm using that word improperly, but vehemently means it's tense dislike, they are crazy. They are crazy and they cannot be reasoned with. Social justice warriors cannot be reasoned with. Doesn't matter what you say, nothing will make them happy. Now, I'm not talking about liberals who are down the center or slightly left. No, I'm talking about the ones who are extremists. And a lot of the problem really stems from the education that a lot of these kids are getting. And when they're surrounding themselves in a collective groupthink of Tumblrites, people who are crazy, special snowflakes who are finding other special snowflakes to validate why they are the way they are. And the reason I bring this up, I was on the bus yesterday. I was waiting for a bus, I should say. A person came on to the bus, and they were on their backpack. They had that they were a trans advocate, that they believed in equality and all that stuff. Now, that's great. You can do all you want. I don't give a shit what you do personally with your spare time. Do what you want. But you don't need to wear a badge of fucking honor to say, I am this. I'm a decent human being. Just be a decent human being. Be nice to people. Don't be disrespectful to them. You know? If you know how to use banter, use banter. And sometimes banter can come across as offensive, but honestly, just be a good human being. I apologize about this. Just be a good human being. It's kind of what I'm trying to say here. And that's a lot of the thing that the left, the far left does not recognize is decency and diversity. Now, you might say, oh, they're all, of course they're about diversity. No, they're not. They're not about intellectual diversity. They're not about class diversity. They're all middle class, upper middle class, maybe sometimes lower, but they're middle class nut jobs. They come from, and a lot of the time they're breeding in colleges and universities. That's the problem. They have too much internet access, they have too much free time on their hands, and they have too many problems. That is the problem with the far left and people on the far left. They're privileged. I'm using that word because they are. They're very privileged human beings. I made the statement that there is no such thing as white male privilege. And there's no such thing as white privilege, specifically, because it's class-based. Asians have more privilege. Black people have quite a bit of privilege through affirmative action and whatnot. Now, I'm not going to go into this too far because, frankly, I'm not well-versed and well-researched on it, so I'm just giving my slight opinion on it. There is way too many problems out there in this world. And a lot of it stems from socioeconomic issues, class issues. The whole thing that communism was trying to get rid of, socialism was trying to get rid of. Great system in theory, but in practice, absolutely abysmal. And that is what I was trying to, that's what I want to go back to that. A lot of these people who are on the left oftentimes are taking very liberal arts-based careers or degrees, and then they wind up in 100,000 in debt with a useless degree. Seriously, think about that for a second. It comes to this line of from Avenue Q of Princeton says, "What do you do with a BA in English? What am I? My life's going to be 4 years of college and plenty of knowledge has earned me this useless degree. I can't pay the bills yet 'cause I've got no skills yet. The world is a big scary place, but somehow I might get the feeling I might make a difference to the human race." Anyway, sorry, I know crappy, cringy thinking, whatever. Point is, Princeton in Avenue Q is a puppet, but a character who has 4 years of college has a BA in English, a Bachelor of Arts in English. What does it even do? It does absolutely nothing. And that's the problem. A lot of these people on the left are taking up, and I mean, there's right-wing people that do it too, but a lot of left-wing people are taking up creative, liberal arts, liberal-focused degrees, and they're ending up with no jobs. And so, because deep down they know that their degrees are useless, that they know that they're wasting all their money, or their parents' money in this case, because most times that's what's happening, is their parents or the government's money, they're then going to try to find a reason to fight for it. They're going to fight for a reason, and the reason why they're angry. Sorry, I'm getting lots of attention here. So, the point of this is they're spending all this time being angry at the man. The man that we discussed in the past, right? The man is the government. The government is bad. Well, no, the government is not bad. The government actually does a lot for people. But when the government has too much authority, has too many rules and regulations, and has too much control of your life, you get something like 1984 or World War II Germany. But if you have not enough government, you start to get you get a more capitalist society. But you also get a lot of issues. So it's a balancing act, and that's kind of what I'm trying to say is, with everything, you've got the balancing act of your economy and your social class and your social statuses and your sociology. Basically, you have society and an economy, and they're in juggling, and that is what President Donald Trump is actually doing. It. That's what he's doing. He is doing a juggling act. Now, he might not be the most, I was going to say credible, but he might not be the most liked person out there. But he's doing a damn good job of what he has right now. And the economy is coming out of the shitter. Meanwhile, minimum wage has been lifted to $15 an hour here in Alberta. And how are we going to pay for that? It's great, people like me who can have a little bit more money to live on. But how are we going to be able to handle that as our society at large? And that's the problem. That's the problem with the far left, with media, with everything. The media likes to spin things to make it look like someone's doing a terrible job, or they put them in a very biased light and put them in a positive way. No one talks about the atrocities that Hillary Clinton was in favor of. No one talks about the issues that she had. No one talks about Jill Stein's problems. Again, don't know a whole lot about Gary Johnson's. No one talks about these issues because Donald Trump was the caricature of an outlandish person. What he had on what he was on WWE, and as a business person and as a spokesperson and as a media speaker, what he was this crazy, well, bit kind of cool person. And the irony is Donald Trump ran as a Democrat back in early 2000. He switched to Republican. Emperor Lemon did a video on how Donald Trump won the election through memes. You should watch it. You really should. And I guess all I wanted to discuss was just that the moment I stopped dating liberal women, the moment I stopped dating women on the left and started dating Crystal, and I started to see things in a better light, I started to find out more about myself. I realized I wanted kids. I said it when I was younger, about 14, said I wanted to have kids. High school happened, didn't want to have kids. Then I started dating her, and I'm like, no, I want to have kids one day. I want to be a father. Because it's instinctively, it is what you want to do as a man. You want to become a father. Women want to become mothers. So, I'm going to leave it on this point. And I'm going to get a lot of shit for saying this, but why is it that people on the far left all look the same? Is there diversity if you look the exact same as your friend? Is there diversity? Is there originality if you look how your other chums look? I don't think so. And I read a point where someone said that it's because they're all fighting for something, and so to do that they want to stand out and be different, but by being different they're all the same. Tell me this much: you find me a far left woman that's attractive. I'll challenge you with that. Peace. I'm going to go. Like it, dislike it. See you guys later.